Hello everyone. Now we are going to see stitch 304. It is under group 300. This stitch type forms is commonly refers to as the zigzag lock stitch. This stitch is zigzag lock stitch. You'll see this figure. It is zigzag. To produce the zigzag appearance, the needle bar moves laterally as the material is fed. This type of stitch is formed with two threads. Most of the time, lock stitch types or classes uses only two threads because of this stitch has only one bobbin. So the lower part of the threads come or travels through the bobbin. So using only the upper as the lower thread A and B. So these threads are only two threads. So this is a type of 304 and it is a zigzag stitch. 304 stitch type used to sew athletics wear. Obliques attach lace on danger. Decorative stitch used to make bar tack and buttonholes. Has some benefits as 300 on security of seam, reversibility, won't unravel easily, has better extension due to the zigzag configuration. Use foundation wear and underwears. By the way, this stitch type used especially underwears. Underwears. The class look 300. This type 306, 313, and 314 is another type of class 300. They are a lock stitch or a blind stitch type. These types are used primarily by men's suit manufacturers for attaching lining and the inside component of waistbands for men's dress or slacks. This class 100 type 306, 313, and 314 are a locus blind stitch. So most of the time they are using primarily by men's suits. More of manufacturers attaching lining or inside component of waistband, and men's dress slacks are made with this stitch type. We are finished this type of stitch type, so we are going to see stitch properties. Stitch properties that are related to aesthetic and performance of the stitch. Stitch properties, stitch size, stitch thread tension, and the stitch consistency are stitch properties. These properties related to the aesthetic and performance of the stitch. A stitch size has three dimensions: length, width, and depth. A stitch size has this dimension: length, width, and depth. You will see this a stitch size. The first stitch size is stitch length. It is specified as number of stitch per inch or stitch per inch and can be an indicator of quality. This the stitch per inch indicates about the quality of the stitch. So a high stitch per inch, more of short stitch and has a high quality. Potential problem, sometimes seam pucker or weaken fabric because of they are short and it has a high stitch per inch. And higher stitch per inch, the more time and thread also used. So it has high cost because of using more thread and more time. So high cost already seen. Low stitch per inch, long stitch, lower quality. The problem is less durable, abrasion, grain through, and fast, so less thread and less cost because of it has a long stitch and fast and less thread and less cost. A stitch width, the distance between the outermost line of a stitch. This one is a stitch width. this up to this stitch width. So refer to the horizontal span cover in the formation of a stitch. Width dimensions require multiple needle or lateral movement of the thread carries. Example, needle bar, looper, or spreader. Also a good example to form this stitch. Another one is stitch depth. The distance between the upper the lower surface of the stitch. Example, blind stitch or curve needle with lateral movement is a good example to stitch depth. A stitch thread tension. You will see stitch thread tension. The thread tension affects stitch formation in two ways. Maybe as a time of sewing, there is a stitch tension problem. Maybe too much tension or a tight thread causes, or too little tension causes. The thread tension can be balanced first on the thread that forms the stitch. The sewer as a time of or as the beginning of sewing, the operator or the sewer should be check the upper and the lower thread tension. The degree of comparison on the fabric rates by the thread as a stitch is formed. When the stitch is too much tension or a tight thread causes simple cut, uneven stitch, unbalanced stitch, formation of weakened thread, and potentially damaged fabric. Maybe the tension of the thread is too much or a tight thread. The cause also happen. These causes are seam puckering, uneven stitch, unbalanced stitch, formation of weakened thread, and potentially damaged fabrics. Another tension is too little tension. Too little tension, that means there is loose. Excessive loop or loops are uneven stitch. Maybe excessive loops are formed as the upper and the lower part of the fabric. Maybe the lower part of the fabric, excessive loop already happen. It is the problem is the upper thread. If maybe the upper part of the fabric excessive loop stitch is formed, there is a problem from the bobbin case thread. A stitch consistency, the uniformity with which each stitch is formed in a row of a stitch. Each stitch should be exactly like the previous stitch regardless of curves, corners, or varying thickness of the fabric. Maybe the thickness of the fabric is vary from one place to another place. Maybe the curves and the corners in only one garment. Then the stitch should be exactly consistent from the previous one. There must be a compatibility of fabric, stitch, and seam type, needle thread, and the machine setting. For the good quality of production, better to compatibility of selecting of a suitable fabric, suitable stitch, seam type, needle, thread, and the machine setting should be important to check at the time of sewing. A good quality garment should be used to get or to select suitable fabric, stitch, seam type, needle, thread, and machine setting. Stitches can be classified stitch 100, class 100, single needle, chain stitch, class 200, hand stitch, class 300, lock stitch, and others class 400 multi-thread chain stitch, class 500 over edge chain stitch, and class 600 cover chain stitch. Class 400 multi-thread chain stitch. This chain stitch is formed with two or more group of threads having a general characteristics, the interlacing and interlooping of the loops of two groups. Loop of the first group of the thread are passed through the material and secured by interlacing and interlooping, which the loops of succeeding group of thread to form a stitch. These are class 400. and this one is looper, and this one is needle. So using this two types of stitch or two type of thread, this 400 stitch class is a multi-thread chain stitch. The class 400 multi-thread chain stitch, when we compare class 100 and class 400, class 100 and 400 class is more durable and used extensively on apparel. Compared to that of the 100 class, the 400 class is more durable and used extensively on apparel. The class 400 uses upper needle thread and looper to carry the lower thread. The lower thread is carried by looper. So this one is the looper. This one is the upper thread or the needle thread. This class 400, it is multi-thread chain stitch or interlooped. Labor cost less than 300, but requires more thread. And durability strong, more extensive than 300. This 400 stitch type is more extensive than 300, and it is strong. Appearance less likely to pucker than 300. Comfort slightly less comfortable than 300, and less soft thread is used, bulkier than 300 because of it is multi-thread, so it is bulky. But 300 is used only two thread, is upper and the lower thread. So this 400 is bulkier than that of the 300. Limitation can braid, catch, and unravel easily. A special feature of this 400 is gets combined with 500 in most safety stitches. 401, it is another part of this 400 stitch class 400 group 401. This stitch type uses a needle thread and looper thread. The lower one is a looper thread and the upper one is a needle thread. So this through two threads chain stitch, one needle thread and one looper thread. The needle and under thread a crossover on the underside of the fabric. Higher seam strength and seam stretch than a local stitch. Higher productivity. Seam run back unraveling is a big problem. In this 400, seam run back and seam unraveling is a big problem. So it has a high productivity and higher seam strength and seam stretch than that of the lock stitch. This is better to stretch for that 300. Seam security not as good as lock stitch. Increase bulk under the seam. Used for joining trousers, panels, rise seams, and fail seams in jeans. These are using to join trousers, panel, rise seams, and fail seams in jeans. This picture show a front stitch type is this one, the back stitch type is this one, so it is bulky for that of when you compare that of 300. Stitch 401 front and back side. Front side is this one, stitch type or stitch design, and the back one this one. Another 400 type, 402 cording stitch. This stitch uses two needle thread that produce two parallel row of stitch on the face of the fabric. This one is sometimes is a decorative stitch. A decorative stitch, this one. Use it for stitching permanent crease. Use it for a permanent crease. This type of stitch can often be found on sportwears. Mostly this stitch type is found in sportwear. It is more decorative than functional. By the way, this stitch type is functional for that of a decorative stitch, more decorative than functional. 444, it is under group class 400, is zigzag chain stitch, more elastic than 401, two-thread chain stitch, used for a decorative stitch and attaching curtain to the inside of the waistband. This stitch type 404, this one is a looper and this one is needle. So it is zigzag. It can be used for decorative stitch and also for curtains using two-thread chain stitch, and it is more elastic than 401. 406 and 407 cover seam stitch. This stitch type is or known as bottom cover stitch. 406 and 407. These stitch types are grouped under 400, so it is known as a bottom cover stitch. They are using to cover seams or unfinished edge on the inside of garment and to keep them flat. By the way, this stitch type used for cover unfinished seam edge. Unfinished seam edge cover with this 406 and 407. This one is the front part and this one is the back part. So the back one is more bulky. So when you are comparing the log stitch with or 300, this one is bulky for that of 300. 406, 406, excellent extension, easy to unravel. It can be used for t-shirt, mid sleeves, and bottom hems. Stitching of belt loops in jeans and trousers. Cover seam stitch has 2 needles and 1 looper thread. This cover seam stitch or 406 has 2 needles and 1 looper as the lower part of the thread. A stitch 406, this one 1 looper and 2 needles. 2 needles. The red part of the thread is needle 1 and needle 2. The yellow one is the looper thread. Give very good extension, and is mostly used to cover a raw edge in the fabric after the fabric has been hemmed. After hemmed, this stitch type is cover from the raw edge of the fabric. A stitch 406 uses 2 needle thread and 1 looper thread, which is like the 402, except that it does not rigid up. We will see this one. This in finishing or finished parts can be cover the raw edge of the fabric. 1 thread from the looper, 2 threads from the needle. A stitch type 407. This is a primary use of the 47 is attaching elastic to undergarment that requires maximum stitch. Mostly this stitch type is used to the undergarment. This stitch type uses 1 looper and 3 needle thread. 406, the 2 needle thread. This one is a 3 needle thread and 1 looper. The difference is that. Another type of class type is 500, overedge stitch. This overedge stitch, overedge or overlock, serge, overcast or mirror. Overedge machine trims the edge of the fabric and from a stitch over the cut edge. This A stitch type is a stitch and a cut. A pair of knife and 3 stitch forms device, a needle to carry the thread through the fabric, a looper or spreader to carry the thread from the needle to the edge of the material on the bottom, and looper or spreader to carry thread up and over the edge of the material on the top. High thread user and stitch, because this stitch type use more thread, so high thread user and stretch. Thank you for watching this video.